Hi, I'm Ryan. I am the author of my new and first book, The Famine. It's a tale of the four O'Donoghue siblings having lost their parents back in the potato famine in 1845. And as they set out in very different paths across the world. So going from the outback of Australia, the battlefield in the US Civil War, the salons of Paris, and also the guerrilla warfare back in Ireland. My book really captures their lives through this hardship, the separation from each other, and for the decades that follow, how each sibling carves out an incredible life spanning decades in their own right. Now, there's never been a major Hollywood movie that I'm aware of about the Irish potato famine. Millions of lives were changed, yet barely a single story told. And that got me thinking, why? But one of the biggest tragedies in Irish history, that's when I knew if no one else was willing to tell this story, maybe I could, okay? Now, going back on myself, I never planned on being a writer. In fact, I spent most of my life doing something completely different, business, marketing, finance, but life has a strange way of steering you in the direction you never expected. A few years ago, I found myself in a place I never expected. I was bedridden, recovering from a nasty accident. I was very unwell mentally. I was frustrated, restless. But I'd always loved history and always had these ideas bursting in my brain, but never had the time really to sit down and put them on paper. And now, well, back then, time was all I had. So I started writing, right? So at first it was just an idea for a film, Hollywood epic about the Irish famine, something that had never been done before. But as I kept writing, the story grew and it grew and it got bigger and bigger. And I realized this wasn't just a screenplay anymore. It was actually a novel, and subsequent novels. And, the whole series on Netflix, who knows? But the thing that makes really unique, every major character is based on real people, not just one person, but multiple. I took real historical figures, revolutionaries, outlaws, and survivors, and wove their real lives into my characters. So while this is a fiction novel, every event, every moment in the famine, no matter how random it sounds, is rooted in something that really did happen. These were real people who shaped history. People we should know, but we don't. Now, that's what I want to change. You might be wondering why I chose this story, why the Irish famine, why not something else? Well, this is kind of personal, as you can probably tell by the accent. I was born in Belfast in 1983, right in the middle of the Troubles, which you may or may not be familiar with. My family had to leave Ireland because of the violence and threats against us, so we moved to New Zealand, and then we later went to Australia. But maybe that's why I was drawn into this story, because of the Irish experience of displacement. Of being forced to leave my home is something I understand in my own way. And when I started researching the famine, I realized this was one of the first times in history that so many Irish people were forced into exile, And it literally changed everything. The Irish who left didn't just disappear. They actually built America, Australia, Canada. They fought in all the wars. They ran the cities, and they truly shaped history of those nations. But their story has never been told on the scale it deserves. And that's why I'm writing The Famine, to bring that story to life. Writing a book is not easy. It's pretty hard, actually. Writing historical fiction, even harder. It's not just about making up a good story. It's about getting it right. So the research alone took months and months and days and hours. I read personal accounts, manifests, newspaper articles, lots of Wikipedia, letters from back then, just to make sure that every detail felt real. And there is the challenge of balancing fact and fiction. How much history do you include before it becomes overwhelming, right? So how do you keep the reader hooked while staying true to real events? That was the hardest part. But at the end, I found the right balance, I think. I was quite liberal sometimes, which you'll notice, but please forgive my artistic license. But now I'm not just launching a book, I'm launching a whole journey. And that's why I created BooksTale, which is, a platform where I'll be sharing behind the scenes content, deep dives into historical figures, my own experience as a first-time author. I didn't want to just write the famine. I want to bring people into the world behind it, a backseat view. And so whether you're into history, storytelling, or just want to follow along, I'd love to have you join me.